Hi, welcome. Glad to see some familiar faces here from the last time, but I'm really happy that we have so many new faces. So this is actually the second AI meetup that we are hosting here by Digitalist, and we have, every intention to make this continuing effort. So hosting these AI-related meetups maybe 3-4 times a year. My name is Riikka Tanner. I represent Digitalist Tampere studio. And for those of you who don't know what Digitalist is or does, let me just say that we are sort of like a customer experience innovation company. And that means that we combine in our daily practices, we try and combine technology with design and branding with customer experience. We are trying to build future-proof companies in so many ways. And but there's plenty of, you feel free to come and catch us from the sleep during the break if you want to learn more about, us as a company. But tonight is more about, you guys and us, giving just the opportunity to share these stories so we can all learn how artificial intelligence and machine learning are changing actually the customer experience, what it means in practical terms, what are the kind of use cases that we can use it for. And we have 3 excellent speakers tonight lined up for you. One of our own, Andreas Markövärn, and then 2 other speakers from M-Files and Cargo Tech. And I let them sort of present themselves and tell more about themselves. But without further ado, I say welcome. Let's have a fantastic evening. Enjoy. And Andreas, all yours.
Thank you.
My first time here, so I'm really happy to meet you all. And if there's something you would like to talk about, I will be out in the outside later on. So I will talk about digital transformation and AI, and I've been working as a digitalist my whole life about digital transformation, and the last year AI has become a really great opportunity to really mature with digitalization. So half my time I spend talking in this type of events, trying to share the insight of what we are learning as the representatives of this digitalist movement. So my background has been for 20 years working in the cutting edge about changing how we are doing things, how businesses are done, and how to engage with your customers. So this is pictures from different areas, different sectors they are challenged by this transformation topic. How do we change? How do we adapt to the future? And when you've been doing it for many years, you see that there is a pattern, things that always come back. We would like to have things much simpler, quicker, and so on. So lots of this user behavior you can clone it from one sector to another. So it's really fun to work in so many different areas because you can copy with pride what is working in one sector and then move it into another. So digital transformation, if you start with that, it's often 2-dimensional, the kind of internal dimension, building a capable organization. And also it's about understanding the expectations from the end users, the customers. So, but to be able to engage with the customer, you need to have a capable organization. And that is really what digitalization is about. It's about getting people to work smarter together, internally and externally. And this is a kind of a learning curve. You have to start testing and trying out new things, and then suddenly it just happens. So transformation is happening all over the world, all sectors. So if we look at digitalization, it started on an end user perspective. It started with us. We all started using the digital tools. So what we can see that the digital lifestyle is something that is quite mature today. We expect things just to work. And I think we all have this thing called a mobile or a smartphone in our pockets. And this is where we start our experiences. We expect things just to work. And if we look at whatever city in the world, the expectation from us is that things should work in a way that is doing in all other services. So to be able to reach out, we need to be relevant in that moment with the user when they need your help. Also, we need to be personal. We don't like to be treated as a group. We would like to be treated as an individual. It's my data, my situation. Also, we expect things to happen in real time. So, like in Facebook, when you write to a friend and you see these dots that someone on the other side is responding, it starts a pulse. You're feeling a connection. And that feeling is something that you're applying to the bank. If you're talking with the bank, you would like that real-time feedback. So, real-time processes is important today. Also, the value. A customer that has a need understands value. And if you're not doing that, understanding that value that you're bringing, the customer will leave you in an instant or second. And lastly, if this all doesn't sound complex, you have to do it simple. It has to just work in the most simplistic way. Because we're quite lazy. We don't like to do things in many steps. If we can simplify it, we will love it. So what is happening now with digital transformation is about the digital lifestyle, how we expect things to work. We can see that these patterns is starting to grow in all sectors because it's based on personal needs, individual needs, human needs. So these are kind of behavior patterns that we see in all sectors. We would like to be motivated to achieve the goal we have. And we expect you as a service provider to help me predict my next step. Make use of my location, so I don't need to put it in myself. Guide me and make me aware if something happens. And this is quite basic stuff, but this is the baseline the customer expects you to respond to their needs. So this happens in all sectors. So I have some experience working with some of the largest financial institutes in Sweden, and we all know how the bank worked 10 years ago. It was a quite old institution. It had this kind of generic information. It had all your financial data, but it just sent out once a month on a paper, and that was it. It didn't really do so much more. And it was quite reactive and transactional, and the opening hours was really crazy. When you left work, you couldn't go to the bank, it was closed. So what is happening is we need to go to the other side of business, looking at the user. So this model, know me, coach me, know my goals, how I want it, that is where you need to start. You need to start understanding each user or each customer's needs. So this is really challenging, but suddenly one bank start doing it, and then 10 others just join in. And now it is no one that can go backwards. The shift is turning quite fast. So when you have all that data, well, suddenly someone realized we can do something out of this. So this is an example of 5 people challenging the banks and taking that bank data and do it into something understandable. And suddenly the customers start loving all that financial data. Before it was really hard to do anything about it. So this is really important to understand. Value can be simplicity and insight of this data that is personal. So this is an example of digitalization in one sector, but now it's jumping into new sectors and new sectors. So on the bad side of digitalization is that we are humans, and we kind of stick to new things, and not only good behavior, but also bad behavior. So one part that we see now is that we are quite occupied with this digital movement. So this is an example of how it can look like if it's going bad. Yeah, so on one side, I'm really kind of a digital strategist, tech geek. On the other side, I'm quite interested in human behavior. And I feel a bit ashamed where we are right now. Because when I sit on the subway in Stockholm, I say to myself, really? So it's really, this can take us in a wrong direction if we're not treating this technology in a good way. So we need to watch out not to become this type of zombies, digital zombies. So the big challenge today is not the technology side. we know that everything is connected. We all are connected in some way, second or third dimension through LinkedIn, whatever. The problem is using all that data and bring insight. So today we are struggling trying to understand the interaction, the purpose, the context where things are happening, and turn that into actionable insight. So one great failure here is that all this data is not analyzed. We don't really know what to use all these server storage capabilities because we're not treating the data in a good way. So if we look at value creation and this digital maturity, we see that companies are changing its way of looking at things. Often you come from a quite transactional focus. You have some service or product that you are delivering to a customer, and then it's up to them to do whatever. But suddenly when you start looking at the customer, like, how can we help you? Then we are starting to focus more on the user journeys, trying to connect different processes, starting to measuring how the user are behaving. And then when we are realizing that it's all about the user experience, then we start looking for value. What is value in that user's life, and how can we fit into that value? So this is along with the digital maturity that companies get, they also start shaping their focus more on the user side than on the product side. That's a good part. Then we start understanding needs and wants. So this is an example of a project I was working with some years ago. Digitalization is not always about technology, but about collaboration between different people in an organization. And what we can learn from Netflix and many companies that are customer-centric is simplicity. And by applying those simple rules in an industrial context, then we can cut off so much complexity that in this scenario, this is Bombardier. This is a solution for predictive maintenance. This is a person responsible for a line on the subway in Sweden. And the time today took about 5 hours to digest all that data. And after 5 hours, they can start working, sending out service orders to the service team. But with this solution, we turn those 5 hours to 5 minutes. And what do you do in 5 minutes? Well, you take a cup of coffee in the morning. So the message was, think about going to work, and during the first cup of coffee, you are on top of the game. In the same way, it takes you 5 hours today in the current state of solution. And that is based on gamification, simplification, and multi-device architecture. So we don't need to kind of invent the wheel in every sector. We can take mature models and move into your business, cut away complexity, and create value for all the users. So leaving digitalization is a big topic, but it is really where everything is happening right now. AI has become one of the most hot topics within digitalization, and it's been around for many years. This is an example of a project I was working with. They did research for 30 years. This is about connecting fetus in the womb of the woman before child labor. And if you connect this fetus, you can analyze decisions. And for many years, you can go back and say, when we do this decision, this will happen maybe many years later, brain damages or so on. So this is a way of looking at deep learning, connecting all the labors from many hospitals and doing predictive analysis of decisions. And this is how a system can help the people doing this labor to work more effectively and more on a clinical level, not making decisions on a gut feeling, but on a data insight level. And if you think this is provocative to do, this is 10 years old. This is done 10 years ago, and this is a standard in American hospitals. So this is a digital process for ST analysis. Right now, artificial intelligence is getting forward in this area of analyzing. So what we can see, sorry. This is a challenge between the specialist and the AI. and the AI is winning because it has that capacity that we human doesn't have. We don't have that deep learning capabilities that an AI have. So we are challenged right now on the way that we should be at our best. But really, even these specialists are beaten. The first time, quite much. The second time, even worse. So this is a really kind of, the AI capabilities right now is challenging all our businesses. What processes should a person do and what process should a machine do? And how do we work together, making it good? So both parties doing what they should do. So you see here the accuracy. I feel bad about these specialists. So they have created a service called BioMind that suddenly you can submit or subscribe to this service, this capability, and connect lots of hospitals and work more smart together. So we heard about AI. It's so kind of complex because it can be used in so many areas, but this is one way of looking at it. The system can see, it can understand what is happening in front of them. And this is quite abstract, like, well, what do we do out of this? And this is where you need to think and be creative. How can we apply this capability into our own processes? And this is one good example of how to apply it in a more human-centered way. So this is an application that you are using to analyze your basketball skills. You download it on your iPhone and you put it on a stand, and then you start playing. And this is how the same technology is applied in an end-user perspective. So the application analyzes real-time based on the skeleton, it understands the movement of all the legs and the joints and so on. It creates a heat map of where they're shooting. It can analyze the performance directly. I think she's a really good player. She just nails it. So this is really important to understand that simplicity is the key to turn AI into something practical. You need to take away that complexity that AI stands for today and find simple solutions, the ones that people love and are not challenged by. Maybe the trainer is challenged in this application. Other areas we can see where AI is coming in is in, for example, this is a sushi bar, and this is a running table, so the sushi is getting around on small plates. So they put up a small camera here and analyzes what is being served. So what the AI is doing is helping the chef doing the right sushi during the day based on what people are taking. So it's optimizing the production based on analyzing the consumption. And what is happening is lowering the waste. This type of sushi doesn't go in the morning, but this does. That insight, of course, a chef knows that, but it can be used in quite simple way. And the cost structure here is going down. It's like the cost and performance is going like this. So in some years, it will be quite standardized in all type of businesses. We see that Amazon, the big players, is testing. So this is an example of applying AI with lots of different type of sensors. And this is how it can be experienced as a consumer.
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store, so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go.
So this is still just an experiment. They are saying they are scaling it now to hundreds and hundreds of stores in America. But think about using this technology in the urban countryside where you don't maybe have this type of stores is closing down. If you live countryside, you know that the shops are closing. This type of service would be excellent, taking away the cost of the people, but continue delivering the food in areas outside the cities. So one aspect here I'm talking much about is about combining this kind of high tech with high touch, understanding the people side, what should be treated on a human-to-human side and what should be treated on a technology side. And if we look at where we are going, it's about combining these two aspects. So looking on the top here, we can see that processes are becoming self-running. We need to understand what processes should be self-running and what we should drive. This is an example of Volvo, self-driving cars. They need to change the way of looking at what they are selling. They are selling mobility, not a car. Also, this kind of self-organization ecosystem. How do we put different types of services together in a way that fits a consumer or customer need? Also, the value part. This is the high touch part. How do we create value to the users, and how do we focus on the lifestyle that they need and how we fit into that lifestyle? So this is an example of Volvo again. So these two are aligned here. And also this real-time insights of that behavior, that is critical to understand how to build a relationship, how to be relevant to each customer. So if you're going to start building your business to create more happiness with your customer, you need to think about how to turn that data into insight. So this is an example how you can change the tech stack to fulfill the user needs. So start, make your service personal. Start by using services connected to each user's profile. Who are you? What are your needs? What you like or dislike? Secure so it's real time, so you can manage it real time on both sides. Focus on the context. What's the value for the user? And start building dialogues with your team in your business to be able to talk with the users and understanding what are you in what type of context and how can we help you. And to be able to coach the customer, then you need to start building journeys, customer journeys. And these need to be one-to-one, based on each user's different needs. And this is where you can start analyzing, not the data, but the behavior. Are the user going in the right direction or in the wrong direction? So lastly, this is where I think AI comes in. That lots of this work has to be managed by a higher kind of, not intelligence, but technology that can off-burden us doing that heavy lifting. So to use deep learning in AI is critical for scaling this, because the data will just grow. The complexity of channels and touch points will grow. So you need that AI to do the heavy work. So just looking at the picture of what this AI can be, it can be everything from robotics to this kind of expert system, helping you finding the path, the right way of doing things, helping you to learn, do some deep learning, to listen or to see, to understand. And that is the kind of thing that AI can bring to the table. And on top of that, then we can see that we can start testing things, we can experiment. And we can do some orchestration that we have never been able to do before. And also the analysis and insight will grow. But this is really about how to combine the best of people with the best of technology. So high tech, high touch. So you need to build that new standard based on what AI can do for you that you're not able to do today. So start taking in all that data and start trying to analyze what does it mean. And then let the AI, train the AI to help you design that kind of response. How do we respond to that type of behavior? Automating this is key. So today we have less than maybe 10% automation, but in some areas we may go up to 100%, or maybe 80% or 50%. But today we are quite low in automation. And lastly, deliver with relevance based on each context. And this is how we can build this new type of machine and human interaction models. Lastly, I will talk about future-proofing your innovation management, because AI is something that is a little bit ahead of us. It's still up for grabs, but so this is just 30 seconds about, the world is changing totally, and it's really critical to understand the world we are heading into, what is happening And this is just an example of predictions of the coming future. So the science fiction and the science fact is starting to blur. So all this information is something that you need to put in your business strategy. How do we live in this world? How will we be part of this world in 10 years? So be able to manage that innovation management is critical. I had to add the end of this video because the landing is really cool. And these ones are big as this house. It's so cool that they can land on itself. And of course, it's AI who does it. We're not talking about self-driving cars. We're talking about self-driving rockets before we have the self-driving cars. That's crazy. So how can you understand what's next? And this is important. What you have today is, but what is next? So this is an example of how we are working with Volvo. This is the Horizon model, Horizon 1 to 3. It's about understanding what's happening right now. So this is what Volvo is doing right now. They are delivering a service instead of a product. So they are saying that instead of buying a product, you should rent it. So this is where they are now, but they need to extend their innovation capabilities by understanding what is heading the next big thing. So the second horizon is this kind of disruptive innovation, things that can be utilized and put into practice, but it has to be kind of created. We need to create solutions and concepts that can be turned into the Horizon 1 to be utilized by consumers. So this is what they're talking about in the Horizon 2, that is their Volvo Labs. They're talking about self-driving cars, and that is the near future, about 3 to 5 years. So they need to, be aligned, understanding what are we doing now, but what will be happening soon. And lastly, and this is maybe the most important thing, they need to have a clear vision and a thought leadership about talking about the future, because that will guide everybody to work in the same alignment, the alignment of trust in these three horizons. So innovation management is about insight, forecasting, and good timing. That is critical to understanding how to put AI into work. And something that AI can do today is quite far-fetched, but something is happening here, and we know that there's lots of stuff with AI happening here and now. So the last part I will say is how can you explore your opportunities? And I will go fast here. So you need to update your organization's capabilities, understanding how AI will fit into the team. Help them understand automation to become real-time, make that analysis, make personalized journeys, and be more role-oriented, not individual-based, but understand the different roles. So don't start with the technology side. Don't make this list of, replace staff with AI and so on. Start by understanding what are the problems that we can solve. Start by talking with the right people that knows where the problems or the challenges are. And engage them. Help them to design, co-create the future. Give them the tools and understanding of what AI can bring to the table. And they will learn quite fast. They're not stupid, because they are already digitally mature. We know that people are quite smart. They want to be smarter in business. This is examples. Be user-centric, co-creative, sequential. Make example how we can use AI. Educate internally to get this movement going. Be holistical. It can be applied anywhere. And think about sustainability. That is really important for us surviving on this planet. So this is my last slide, and moving back to this kind of, what we are doing is bits and pieces of all this, but we can bring together both the brand perspective, the technology, building the relationship, become quite hardcore technology partner, and also help you become the cyber breakers. because you need to align your business to understand the opportunities within AI. So this is my last time here, so thank you for listening, and if you would like to talk with me, I'm totally bookable, so you can just take a picture and book me whenever. So I love to talk with businesses that would like to test new things, and I'm in Finland quite often, so please give me a call or just book me and we have an online chat or we can meet. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good. All right. So next up we have Ossi Nykänen from M-Files, and I think that the whole meaning that Andreas was talking about, context and how to make that as relevant as possible with AI. I think this is spot on with what you guys are trying to achieve with M-Files. But so stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ossi Nykänen. I'm the Chief Research Engineer at M-Files. Today I will be talking about how to manage information, especially, let's say, business-to-business information using AI. So M-Files is a Finnish company. It's had headquarters in Tampere, in Dallas, US. We have sites all over the world. And for the couple of past years, we have been focusing and investing a lot into AI-related development. So we have a core product that we have had like 20 years or so, with lots of companies are using throughout the world. And now we are putting more and more of the ideas and actual technologies and solutions within the product. So my objective for this presentation is to explain some of the basics and then show some of the ideas we are currently having, looking at the kind of everyday applications in this industry. So first, I will say a few words about M-Files, what we are doing, what kind of customers we are having, very top level, no much statistics. Then I will talk about AI from, let's say, a relatively technical perspective. So end of the day, AI is one of the methods you can apply to manage your information. And for us at M-Files, AI is as good as the solutions it provides for our customers. So that also means that we are kind of down to earth when it comes to applying the, let's say, first wave of AI. So what we want to do, we want to integrate the good stuff, evaluate what we know, and then not try to be in the kind of forefront where you don't know what to do. So we want to pick the stuff and put it into our existing product as much as we can. Then I will show some very basic examples what we're doing today. Unfortunately, I don't have fancy videos, but we are using, it was an extremely nice presentation. Thank you for that. It also puts me in this second speaker's position, but just kidding. But the idea is that we are actually applying computer vision, we are applying video analysis, but for us, those are not mainstream. So for us, it's managing the enterprise information that businesses use to interact with each other, to productize their ideas, to give a quality service to their customers. So we are in this kind of industry where we are digitalizing the content, and for most part, that content is still like documents, information about people, relationships, all the customer information and stuff like that. So M-Files is an established company that provides services to businesses. So our customer base is not end users, it's businesses and their employees and then their customers. And our vision is to provide information so that enterprises can do what they are doing at their best. So find information, share information, secure documents and information. And that last part is extremely important because for many companies, you have to have complete audit trails, you have to have compliance, you have to follow all sorts of regulations. So simply providing information is not enough. You have to do it in a compliant way. Otherwise, it's not useful in a business context. So that also means that if you have a, let's say, intelligent application, not only it needs to be like good for the practical use, it also needs to be compliant when it comes to workflows and these kind of regulated businesses. Here are some of our customers. So M-Files has several thousand customer organizations throughout the world, and it also explains and nicely kind of illustrates the Andreas's idea that things need to be simple, because there's no way that you can tailor, let's say, two complicated systems for every and each kind of customer individually. So the system needs to be easy to approach, it needs to adapt to the actual needs, and it should have minimal configuration, because otherwise it's too difficult to use. So it simplifies the customer experience, and that is something that we hope that AI can help us. It doesn't solve the problem, but it is clearly an asset in the path. M-Files provides the core product, which we feel that is the intelligent information management platform. So our understanding is that in a realistic business environment, you have lots of different systems that you are interacting with. You have lots of different people working in different roles. And what lies in the kind of center is the ability to model those processes. So when you're talking about information management, the idea is that you model your customers, you model the people who are working for those customers, you are modeling the artifacts that are being created when you make products, you are modeling the workflows, you are modeling the access rights, and so forth. So instead of talking about documents or files, you're actually talking about information objects and people working in processes. So this is the kind of essence from M-Files perspective, to actually model this stuff so that it can be managed efficiently. And what it means in practice is that M-Files provides metadata-driven architecture, which fundamentally means that the data that we manage is not files in some folder structure. It is objects that have semantic meaning, objects which have relationships with other objects. And there are things that you can manage not by looking for where the things are, but by describing what you want to do with the objects. And from our perspective, that is a really fertile land for applying AI techniques and methods, because you can only do so much as the kind of basic system enables. The other part is the intelligence, and from M-Files perspective, intelligence is largely the kind of intelligent things people do when they're using M-Files, and the kind of artificial intelligence is the stuff under the hood that can help people to do the right thing. And for the majority of applications we are currently working with, this involves making sense of data, making sense of unstructured data, simplifying the kind of, let's say, everyday actions that end users are doing. So the AI is not like deciding what people should be doing, it's streamlining and helping the actual business things people are doing. And then finally, of course, from a deployment perspective, M-Files provides cloud solutions, on-premise and hybrid solutions. So when we talk about platform, it also means that we're able to plug in different kinds of approaches. So for instance, when we do image analysis, we don't want to develop the actual analytics by ourselves. We rather use the cloud services that we can plug into our system. The fact that many organizations must deal with every day is also that whether you like it or not, your information and the kind of core processes, they are distributed across a number of different kind of base systems. So if you are a company, you have like dozens of systems that your critical data is in, whether you like it or not. And this is something that M-Files embraces. So we provide infrastructure for connecting M-Files to different basic systems like SharePoint or simple file share system. And you can manage your data through the M-Files without losing the kind of twist that the base system is providing for you. So from our point of view, you can use M-Files, let's say, as the platform, or you can use it as a client, or you can simply use it to plug all the existing data into a manageable platform without having to migrate anything. And that again kind of emphasizes why we need intelligence, because so much data is unmanaged these days still. Okay, what about AI? How does it help us, and what do we seek from these methods? There are lots of potential in AI, but I will focus on these kind of concrete things that we have found applicable in the enterprise level information management. Two things are worth emphasizing is that we can always think AI as a set of methods that can help us either enhance the existing user or customer experience, or we can use AI and the related, let's say, innovations to create new kind of customer experiences or new kinds of user interfaces. So the former I call in this presentation AI in the background, and the latter AI in the foreground. So AI in the background means that you can have, let's say, your basic user interface, the application that your customers have been using for quite some time now, and what they have been trained to use and what they are happy using. And you can introduce AI capabilities under the hood without disrupting the existing kind of customer experience. This works nicely in many business applications. The other approach is that you can use AI to introduce new kinds of user experience, perhaps introducing new modalities to the end user, providing, let's say, speech interface, or giving sort of personality to the application. This kind of branding that big companies like to say when they are presenting AI. And now the question which one to choose is entirely depending on the actual business need. So in many applications, it is quite sufficient to actually annotate, enrich the existing user interface with AI-enabled capabilities, whereas in some other applications, you actually need this kind of new modality or new interaction pattern. And in our case, we have been heavily investing in this side, and most probably the kind of newest innovations will occur in natural language, let's say, dialogue kind of information systems. But quite frankly, most end users are not yet there to actually adopt these systems in complex business environment. In a let's say, restricted environments, it's different. But if you have a complicated system, then you have a different ballgame, so to speak. What kind of methods AI provides, like for everyday applications in intelligent information management? Again, I will speak about this from the M-Files perspective. So on the upper right-hand corner, there's this kind of traditional folder-based organization of information. So basically you have a folder structure, and you seek information based on where it is. So that's really handy if you are one person and you have a handful of information. But if you are 10 person or 10 years or million documents, it doesn't scale. You will lose information. So even if it's in a digital form, you will never find and you can't make sense of it. And it's kind of wasted effort to actually digitalize it because you will not find. From the M-Files perspective, the core is, excuse me, using metadata-driven model for actually managing information. So rather than saying that these documents are related to a customer and the name of the folder is the key how to find them, we model things as objects. So this is the product, these are the customers, there's a relationship, this is the complete version history, how these objects were modified, and this is the workflow where these objects have a role. So the idea is that you don't copy information, you don't put it in some place where you might forget it, you actually describe it and put it in a context using metadata and this kind of model of your business needs. So from this perspective, the kind of main, let's say mainstream even, use case for AI is enriching data so that we can semi-automatically create first-class metadata models and put the information in context where the users actually need it and when the users have been using it. And for this kind of use case, AI provides, or machine learning, let's say, related applications provide lots of things to utilize. The basic thing that many others are based on is classification. So if you're creating a new document or you are given an external repository, the natural question is that, is this an agreement? Is this a memo? Is this something I don't care? And the ability to be able to reliably classify information into these categories or baskets is one of the fundamental things that the AI can offer for information management. So if you inquiry in an external database, you know nothing what's there. But if you can ask the question that, oh, show me all the agreements I should care about. What are the due dates of those agreements? When should my legal people be working with those documents and so forth? Then it's a different kind of thing you can do with your information. When you ask the question that when was the document modified, you can, in a metadata-driven system, you can simply check from the person history. But if you are looking at or facing the question, when was this document modified, who made the modification, which companies are involved in this documentation, who is the main author in this document, by looking only at the document, then you have to extract information from it. So you can extract organization names, person names, dates, and use that to generate metadata, which has then the applications in your business environment. You can go further and do text analytics, find relationships, do digests based on data. So if you have an agreement and it has a number of dates, probably one of those dates is the significant one. So there are lots of dates in the document, and you have to understand the semantics of that date that dictates the legal actions related to that document. You can analyze images, look for persons. You can do automatic inventory management, see how much the goods you have in stock. There was a really nice example in the previous presentation about that. You can analyze video. And again, many of these kind of practical things you would do in a business environment by considering this kind of best practice is to more or less transform image or video content into something that can be indexed and searched and managed in a metadata-driven environment. So if you have a video clip, or a black screen, you can go and you can go and search it as if it was a regular document. So it really doesn't matter what the content is, as long as you can provide an adapter to it. Okay, you have the agreement. Then what? You most likely would like to know that what is the business context this agreement is relevant. So if it's an IT agreement, if it's an employment contract. So it also means that you have to analyze the subject matter. So this is something that you can then use to base that who is the proper person to manage or process the information, what is the department where this belongs, and what are the kind of archivement things you want to do. Then you can do all other things like make numerical predictions, regression, time series, what have you, which are really case specific on the kind of particular needs you have. But for information management, these are kind of self-explanatory because intuitively you can use that to enrich the metadata in your applications and then pretty much understand why you are doing these things with your data and what you can do with your data. Then is the critical question that how and to what extent you can apply AI. And as a rule of thumb, when it comes to, let's say, machine learning based applications, modern AI is very good in automating stuff that people do in a split of a second. So if I'm looking at the document, I'm looking this audience here, I can recognize faces and I can recognize people. I can identify whether the document is like formal or if it's informal. These kind of decisions can be automated with these. But when it comes to making really complicated, like this kind of decisions related to 20-second thinking, then it's much more difficult to automate that. So the kind of low-hanging fruit for most AI applications comes from this kind of series of decisions that can be done rapidly. The other kind of, let's say, best practice or rule of thumb is that computers are really good at processing vast volumes of data, which is regular. So if you have like a log information about your customers, if you have access information, if you have statistics, that kind of information can be processed rapidly. And the kind of insight that follows comes from the fact that people have difficulties in understanding this kind of complex relationships from regular data, whereas computers, on the other hand, they have difficulties in understanding simple relationships from very, very diversified data. So there's a kind of idea again that what is the division of labor between humans and computers. So computers are good in tasks that people do quickly and tasks that people struggle because there's so much data, even if the data has a regular form. Then implementation-wise, I also already sort of made a spoiler about what is the best practice for intelligent information management if you have a good metadata model of your content. So you can basically enrich the metadata model and then provide you the benefits of manage, let's say, view to data, searching the data, given metadata driven access control, assigning stuff to workflows and views and you name it, without copying anything. So you can have actually the real thing into play all the time. So this is really attractive from the, let's say, application perspective of this kind of caching or baked in, purkitettu in Finnish. So where you can pre-compute everything. So if you have a good model where to kind of put this enriched data, then it's not a big deal if processing this information takes quite a long time, because you can do it in the background. You just store all the kind of nice results like classifications and extracted information, subject matter, these kind of things, and then these are really rapid in your applications. On the other hand, if your needs are really versatile and let's say contextual, in the sense that cannot be fulfilled with this kind of caching approach, then you have to do, let's say, interactive or question answering kind of computations. So it then introduces the real-time requirements. So many of the things that you can do using cloud-based systems, for instance, like natural language processing and stuff like that, you actually need the cloud, because otherwise it would take so much time. So it wouldn't be doable in real time. But then again, every AI system, every machine learning system, it requires some model, it requires some training data. And you cannot kind of automate that. There's always this kind of phase where the system needs the time and the resources to adapt itself when insisted. So again, this kind of points out the benefit of having a good model that you can enrich and populate without end users having to wait too long time. What about what's in it for me as an end user? The previous things were more like from the kind of implementers or providers point of view, so kind of technology speaking. As an end user, we all have different roles. One, nowadays perhaps the most attractive one, is the consumer role. So we consume information, and in that role, I want to be able to access the information that is relevant for me. I want to access the information that is relevant for me right now, and in the task that I'm doing, in this kind of level of granularity that I can understand. So this means that AI and this kind of metadata-driven enriched information can help me accessing information and doing stuff with that information, instead of wasting my time in figuring out what information is relevant, where to find it, and so forth. The second role, which is also important, is the provider role. So as an employee, as a person, I also create information. And what is important is that I don't only create information for others, I also create it for me. So when I write a document, when I fulfill some process step, when I interact with other people, I am creating information. And if that information is not properly managed, so classified what it is, put into context with relevant metadata, perhaps part of some workflow, it will be lost. So even if it's in a digital format, it can be in a database or what have you, a few weeks from here, I will not find it myself. Not alone when there's lots of people doing it without any coordinated kind of memory. So the kind of organizational memory we are creating is actually the system, the platform, or the M files in this case. And we should keep that memory in good shape. So again, AI can help there. So when I create information, I'm not hoping to lose it the next day. So the best way to kind of avoid information management pitfalls is to not do the mistakes that create, let's say, garbage data or difficult to find data. The third item is that when I do things, I usually have a primary task that I'm doing. So I don't want to use computers, I want to send messages to my colleagues. I want to design something new, I want to utilize something. So having automated, let's say, recognition of that primary context helps me to get rid of this kind of distractions in my work. It means simple things. It means focusing, when information is provided for me, focusing on the data that is relevant in this context that I'm working. It requires understanding that I have multiple roles when I'm working and recognizing that kind of thing in activities. It can be simple things. It can adapt the view that I'm working. It can say that, okay, I shouldn't be disturbed because I'm in a meeting. But all these things, when combined together, they actually help significantly making us more productive to our daily work. And finally, of course, if you think about realistic systems, they are so complicated that it's difficult to manage data that's in a multiple systems or in some other kind of silos within one system, unless you have integrated access. So again, bridging different pieces and different bits and pieces is crucial. And again, this kind of automated kind of harnessing the data for us is of big help. As a manager or administrator, I want to be in control. The last thing I want is that I have a black box AI. I don't understand what it does. So it means that in a realistic setting, you want to have these workflows. You want to have these really well understood processes, and you want to have AI to help in those. But you don't want the AI to take control over your processes so that you don't understand what's happening or that your processes are not compliant. So it again, let's say, points out that the division of labor in a business environment is that you have to understand the business and the processes so that you can be compliant, and then you can use AI to enhance those processes. But you really cannot let the AI control your processes. Then, of course, making sense of all things is important. And in a, let's say, diversified environments, it is very important that you have integrated access to all data. So federated search sounds very simple, but it does not work unless you have a good data model. Otherwise, the search reduces to keyword search, which might not be relevant at all. I mentioned a few times, and it was also in Andreas' presentation, about these kind of terms like machine learning and deep learning. So I thought that I will explain some things related to that. So as I see it, and by the way, I forgot to mention, I'm been doing a lot of applied research in semantic computing and machine learning and stuff like that. So this is like slight changing of hats for a second. But as I see it, when we talk about AI applications that involve, let's say, machine learning aspects, it is important to understand that if we want to do truly adaptive systems, then those adaptive systems basically adapt based on the data we provide to them. So we have some idea of what kind of problems we want to solve, and then we have examples of the kind of problems that we can solve. And then we show those examples to appropriate kind of machine learning system and get results, let's say predictive results, that what was the pattern in this kind of problem scenario. And if we have this kind of traditional manual engineering, then we have like a handful of use cases that we give to our development team, and then come up with a solution that, hey, this is how it should go. And we can manage it using this kind of traditional heuristic ways. So we just review manually all the use cases and the data and iterate that with our customers. When we jump into knowledge engineering, the kind of set of examples that we are dealing with is one magnitude larger. And this introduces this kind of qualitative aspect. So we cannot say how the system behaves unless we introduce this kind of qualitative metrics to the analysis. So most likely our system starts to include stuff like rules and examples and patterns that are not, let's say, manually managed in this kind of customer interface. So here we manage everything manually. Here we are stepping into this kind of, let's say, indirect evaluation where we have quality aspects in our systems. The third step in this kind of conceptualization is the machine learning applications, where the idea is that the actual logic and the behavior of the applications is more or less dependent on the data that is provided. And let's say, for instance, this document classification example. If I want to introduce a system that is able to recognize that, okay, this is an agreement, this is a memo, this is something I don't care. I have to provide samples to the system. And the quality of that simple prediction or classification system is totally dependent on my choice of algorithm and the parameters, where there are cloud services that can do this for me, and most importantly, the data that I provide. So it means that when I start thinking the customer experience, I'm actually thinking it in terms of the data. So I will kind of say that this is the kind of things I would like to achieve, but essentially it doesn't matter. Only what matters is the kind of data I can provide to the system. So it means that the first step is completely controlled by human designers. The second step is still controlled by human designers, but there's this new kind of qualitative. For engineers it's sometimes difficult, but it's an important aspect in system kind of acceptance testing and validation. But when we enter this real, let's say, machine learning based applications, then it's actually data based. If I don't have data about the phenomena I would like to solve, I cannot do the system. And it also implies that there's no necessarily an explanation why it behaves like it does. Even in the cases where in theory there's an explanation, but it might be so long that nobody will bother to read it. So it means that these kind of traditional roles when developing the customer experience, they also must change. So the product manager or the product owner can no longer say that, go on, you know what the customer wants. He or she must show that, okay, this is the data and this is the kind of behavior I would like to see. Can you make it happen? And then finally, the fourth in this conceptualization, the fourth column is this kind of deep learning approaches, where more and more about the organization of the models is performed by, let's say, number crunching. So the role of the people kind of diminishes in the sense of actually engineering the solution. It's more like figuring out what kind of behavior we want to get out from the system and what kind of qualitative measures we have to make sure that it actually fulfills our customer needs. Okay, then finally, a couple of ideas put in practice in the M5's product. So I will show one concept and two small examples in still images, but you can go and download the actual system and try it out by yourselves. So M5 provides unified access to all data and content, so You can have this repository agnostic platform in cloud or in on-premise situation. You can access the data using laptop, mobile phone, tablet, web browser, what have you. And the core functionality is that it's metadata driven, and AI helps in enriching stuff to that direction. This kind of unified access, device independence is important in this kind of diversified user context. And of course, compliance, version history, and the kind of actual business processes you have to have. Otherwise, you're not doing it for business, you're doing it for some other purpose, which can be fun, of course, but you get the idea. So from M5's perspective, one of the really, rudimentary things that we have put into use in 2018 product is the ability to classify documents. So for instance, if you have a vault, M5's conceptualized stuff, that you have a vault, and the vault includes the objects of your business of interest, then you can have relationships and processes within the vault, connect the vault to other things and so forth. So if I put a new document to the vault, then rather than me having to fill all the metadata by myself or having to inquiry, I can ask from the AI, so to speak. So the AI can, out of the box, provide metadata suggestions. It can say that, okay, this is an agreement, it includes these required metadata fields. And then, okay, this is an agreement, and it seems that there's a person involved here, which is Samppa Lahtinen, and two vendors. I can provide them for you. And then it can say, okay, I think this is related to ICT and stuff like that. So there's no kind of digital secretary in place. There's no fancy user interface with the person talking to you. It's the everyday user experience, but under the hood, AI is being exploited. The other example is more kind of fancy looking, the image analysis. So M5's intelligent information management platform is actually an open architecture for all sorts of extensions. So what we do, we provide the platform, we provide the kind of core compliance properties and device independent stuff like that, and the basic intelligence services. But we also provide the API. If you have a really cool AI application you would like to use, plug it in. Here's one example. Microsoft provides this computer vision application that's basically a cloud application. So you send an image to that application and it tells you back what's in the image. So you can use that to annotate your graphics. You can use that to recognize persons in the picture. You can read text in the picture and stuff like that. So by using this kind of intelligent information platform, you can plug in all sorts of things into your application. And from our perspective, this is really a win-win scenario because our customers get what they want, and we get the state-of-the-art AI applications when we want, and think that those are relevant to our customers. We have similar development in video and other domains as well. So again, the core is that you have a good product that serves businesses. It is metadata driven, repository agnostic. You can put it in cloud, hybrid, and then you can use all sorts of methods to enrich the data and keep it in good shape. Then some final words to conclude. So for us, intelligent information management means intuitive but simple customer experience. So in a nutshell, it's doing something smart in the background so that your customers can do the really interesting and intelligent things in the foreground. So the system only needs to be as intelligent as the business requirement says so. There are lots of ways AI can help, like method-wise, to support information management. And one of the, from our point of view, the kind of basic things are classification, information extraction. And you can think these as ways to make sense of data so that the dark data kind of diminishes and you know what's the important part that you need to focus on. Our solution is the mFiles platform. It provides out-of-the-box functionalities and this kind of plugin architecture. So you can connect new stuff to mFiles. You don't have to migrate. If you know, hey, this is a really cool AI application, you can probably plug it into mFiles as well. So for us, the optimal customer experience means solving actual business problems with the help of AI and other methods. That's it for me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ossi. Any quick questions if anybody has?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was there. I did the first one.
Okay.
Who does mFile interact with your big clients? Is it the legal departments or is it what's your customer flow?
Yeah, well, I'm from the product organization, so I might not be the optimal person to answer that. But
who's the buyer of your?
I think the buyer is the person in the company who kind of faces the struggle with numerous different information systems. So I think that it's most likely the actual need for really integrating the information in your organization. So it could be
CIO, CTO.
It could be this, or it could be the guy who's doing integration in the system. It could be the HR who is looking for ways to actually kind of make things compliant in an organization. Or it could be simply like a very small company who don't want to have like a gazillion systems for doing all sorts of little things. They want to have this kind of one system that can then extend for their purposes. So we have really big customers. They have like units which have different kind of, let's say, practices altogether. And we have SME customers which have like a unified process thanks to us. So I'm afraid there's no one answer, but I think the struggle we are all facing with different information systems is probably our kind of benefit in this case.
So Johanna is nodding.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So my excuse is that I developed these things.
Sweet. Hey, thank you, Ossi, so much.
Thank you.
All right, so the final speaker for tonight is Pekka Mikkola from Cargotec, and I'm really eager to hear his presentation because at Cargotec it seems that they use AI or machine learning to make crazy promises to customers. So,
Yeah. I'm Pekka Mikkola, coming from the Cargotec and running a small team called Data Driven Services. What it is, what we do, you will hear a little bit later on. AI supported customer promise. So I will give first a little bit background story, who we are, what we do, frame the context, but then go to the thing itself, that how do we apply AI and machine learning in this very, very particular case and make a customer promise. Cargotec in brief, what we are three strong brands. We are Kalmar, we are Hiab, and we are MacGregor. And Kalmar is situated here in Tampere, headquarter-wise in Rusko. Hiab is in Malmö, and MacGregor is in Singapore. And we are really global organization, so we have legal companies in more than 100 countries. We have 12,000 people across the globe. Just released the annual report, 3.3 billion sales 2018. And what we do, we are the leader in intelligent cargo handling. What it means, we deal with loads, we deal with containers, we deal with cargo in road transport, in ports and terminals, and at vessels in sea, so maritime as well. This is who we are. This is what we do. So we are really proud of this. So every fourth container is being handled by Kalmar solution. Hiab actually is a synonym for a crane. in Scandinavia. So we are proud to say that even the Balfingers and Fussies are called Hiabs in Finland, which is the coolest thing you can achieve brand-wise. And MacGregor, not that well known to a consumers, I would guess, but if you go to the cruise ship, for example, there is most likely some MacGregor equipment, or of course in the cargo vessels, but it's all about vessels, so anchor winches, hatch covers, offshore cranes to the oil and gas, very big and complex things to rotor ramps, compressors, pumps, this kind of thing. This is our strategic promise: smarter cargo flow for better every day. And we have been really putting effort on this, and we just renewed our strategy, and this nicely illustrates this picture where we operate and what are the synergies between the different parties of the company. So MacGregor container ships here in the picture, load handling systems in the ship. Then when we go to the port, Kalmar equipment loads and discharges the containers from the container vessels. And then we handle the containers with Kalmar solutions there in the ports. Then we load the container to the trucks, trailers or trains and take it to the customer, even for the last mile with Hiab solutions. So Hiab provides solutions for trucks, all kinds of things from the tail lifts to the loader cranes, recycling cranes, forestry cranes, demountable skip loaders, many kind of things. And this is our big picture and our value chain, if you will. Why do we exist? And what are the targets that what do we try to achieve with the solutions that we have? So the global cargo flow, if you are into the logistics, it's really inefficient. So we have made a study a few years back with McKinsey, and we found out that 17 billion euros is lost due to the inefficiencies in the container flow. So there are delays in the schedules, there are changes in weather, there are confusion on the plans, there are reservations on the port side, there are increased bunker fuel costs, there are a lot of things that cause extra cost, and also extra emissions. So we do care about that as well. So it's our big promise to provide more sustainable solutions. And so 19 million tons CO2 equivalent tons on moving only empty containers. So we import stuff from Asia, all kinds of consumer goods. We ship back empty containers, and that's life. That's the trade of the balance of trade today. Then a couple of words with the technologies, capabilities, what we are applying here to solve these problems, create better solutions. Enabler for the machine learning and the AI. So we started this thing 3 years back. Cargotec IoT Cloud, known as Kalmar Cloud, known as Hiab Cloud, now known as MacGregor Cloud. And this is not a conceptual picture as such, but everything you see here is in production, and with many examples what we do with this. So our term of IoT is not narrowed down by telemetry data from the equipment. It's much more. It's about the analytics as well, and it's about creating new products and new services It's about connecting different business processes together and also enabling the AI ML. We get a lot of data in from different sources, systems, equipment. We store it in the cloud. We have been in AWS since the beginning and happy user of AWS. We've been cloud native here from the beginning. We are embracing the serverless. We are really embracing the new ways of working, DevOps things. And it's about getting the speed. We have many businesses. We need to adapt to lots of use cases. And we couldn't have done it with the traditional methods. A couple of examples maybe on the upper part of the picture. We do share information through the APIs with customers. We have a lot of apps running on top of this platform for our customers, but also internal apps. Business process automation. We get operational data from our equipment that we are servicing. So our field service technicians doesn't need to go to the equipment and read the hour measurement from the meter. We get that recording automatically to our SAP system, which then boosts the service automation. Spare part kits, we are able to quote automatically and all kinds of nice things. So we have several thousands of machines in this kind of process automation. Highlights for 2018, we have many apps running on top of the platform for all businesses, bringing visibility and insight to the customers that what they should do next, what is working well, where they should put focus in. We have lots of machines connected, and then the community we have built around the data. This is what we are really proud of. It's still in the early stages, but having the capabilities of storing the data and exposing it for the different parts of the organization, we can bring people together, have them collaborating around the topics, exploring the data and really connecting the different parts of the organization. From the R&D engineers, from the simulation engineers, to the data scientists, to the business analysts, product managers, salespersons. They really are working on top of the data lake, and the data enthusiasts hashtag is the label for our community of practice. We have these kind of informal networks we call communities of practice, and anybody can join in, volunteered, happy to join in, free to join in, and then it's a virtual facilitation, and the people joining that community of practice, they can select the topics they want to discuss about. It's about democracy, and they select the persons to work with the topics, facilitate things, and it's really working well.
Can I ask a question in the middle?
Yes,
Yeah.
I promised.
Is that a service that you provide for free for your biggest customers, or is it a paid service?
We provide the central capabilities for our business areas, and then they are free to create products on top of the platform, and then they are selling these services to their customers. That's the basic kind of division of work. Of course, they are free to offer free services as well. There are different use cases, so one might give basic service for free and then sell for get money for additional features and stuff like that. But it's about monetizing the insight as well. And this is about the data. So we have a lot of data. The bottom here is we get a lot of telemetry data, events, alerts, alarms from the equipment, but we have a lot of business data as well. So customers, materials, then a lot of the install base related data, a lot of service related data, and this is really must. It's really needed to make any kind of insight in our context. And it's increasing every day. We are bringing in new data sets proactively, so we don't wait the use cases and then start bringing in the data. We figure out what would be the next one to integrate with and then start acquiring the data.
Are you having the same setup throughout your all organizations, Kalmar, Hiab, and so forth?
Yes.
Or how are you managing your sales channels? I mean, you have a dealers, mainly in Hiab. I don't think Kalmar has that much.
Kalmar has dealers as well.
But how do you basically, have you been able to digitalize the sales channels and collaborate better with your dealers, get a marketing information from them, and really understand what they do, get them to the last frontier, what nobody's really able to do?
It depends on the continent, I would say, and it depends on the products. So there are traditional markets and the products like terminal tractors in the US. Dealers buy batches of terminal tractors and then they sell those to the end customers. And we have trouble knowing who is actually using that equipment. And that's one of the use cases. But then we have dealerships that we work very closely with and we share the information and we try to help the dealer making better business. And I mean, if we go, we don't go back. Okay? Yes, we do. If we think about these products here, so here you need to think about the dealership as well. Who sells the product to the end customer? Who services the equipment? And you need to have that in your mind when you are selling these digital products to your end customer. You can't just bypass the dealer. It's essential part of the go-to-market model, and there needs to be value for the dealer, value for the end customer, and value for our business. It's about sharing the data. Dealers have such data and details about the equipment and the customers that we don't know. They are keying in into our systems. Then going to the AI. How to create value from AI. And of course, I don't know about you, but we have been struggling with the term AI. When do we have AI? And machine learning is pretty nice concept, so everybody can relate to that and understand. But what about the AI? We used to have, well, you know that it's on top of the Gartner hype cycle and coming down soon, very fast pace, I would guess. But we used to have the master data management and all that kind of terms there before. But AI, I think we are thinking that it should really create some action. We can drive insight, we can create suggestions, but if it doesn't propagate an action, somebody is really doing something, and the business process is not rolling forward or something is really moving, then it's not AI. Then we can argue whether we have this kind of narrow, kind of one-trick AI and more broad AI. Yeah, that's a fair discussion. But we are not too much worrying about what if we have AI or machine learning. We are just doing cool things. So this is one of our daily situations, that there are trucks and that there are cranes. And truck is coming to pick up a container, and this crane here, this could be the rubber diet gantry crane, is supposed to load it to the truck. And this is trying to highlight that they need to have an understanding that which container should be loaded to the truck, and other way around, where to find the crane that is managing the block having the container you need. And below that, there's a thing called systems integration. There are different systems, they talk with each other, and they expose the data early enough so the crane can prepare and dig it up the container before the truck comes in. But already here is a lot of opportunities for the AI and machine learning to really adapt if the truck is not coming or is coming sooner than expected, then the crane could be more proactive and start finding the container and adapting to the situation that I need to deliver it faster. But basically what we are trying to say here that the intelligence will increase in these individual machines in a way or another. And everybody's quite aware that the self-driving cars and trucks are coming. Well, our higher products are in those trucks. So it's pretty obvious that we don't want to be in the situation that you need a crane operator just for the crane, but not for the driving of the truck. So pace is set for us, and the scene is set for us too. And that is nice. It kind of elaborates the discussion inside as well, that this is what we should be doing. This is how we divide it internally, bringing internal efficiencies. By the way, we have M-files as well. And we have software robots, we have RPA, we have all kinds of stuff where we can apply ML, AI to boost the systems or the business solutions usage and gain efficiencies there. AI assisted functions, so there's so many things to explore and get those benefits that nobody can even count them. But it's about focusing, and my team has been focusing purely on the customer value side. It's a decision. We could put our effort to the HR systems and to the finance systems and optimizing that. We can probably squeeze in you need to close the books in the period end closing. We might be able to squeeze that time and get savings and speed there as well. You never know. We divide these services into three or areas we are focusing on: intelligence services, equipment, and operations. And a couple of words with each of these. So, predictive maintenance. We build machines, we service machines. We are doing that, of course. Everybody's doing that. But that's not the case today, what I'm going to present. Energy and emission modeling, that's the case for today. Advisory bots, we have been piloting these kind of things, how to create interactive UIs, conversational interfaces. A lot of things around the spare part logistics. Suggestions what customers could and should buy, how to get stuff from the warehouses quicker to the customer, how to optimize the warehouse levels and stuff. Intelligent equipment, this is the area that we are talking not that much publicly. So we are indeed creating intelligence around our equipment. It will be AI assisted functions before being completely autonomous. We do have a lot of automation today, and we are thinking really of embracing and enhancing the automation with learning components. We are working with simulators. We are working with the machine learnings in the simulators and the deployment to the control systems, and it is completely different world. Then intelligent operations. We are working with the process change from ships to terminals to end customers, and it's siloed process, sub-optimized sub-processes in a row, and planning functions that could be boosted with more visibility, upstream, downstream, and we do see a lot of opportunities in this area to be better in simulation, what could happen, or then when something happens, it's not the sunny day scenario, but something fails, then we could simulate that what is the next best plan for this situation. For example, advisory chatbots for the control rooms in the automation, a lot of information is flooded, and the people are there watching and thinking what are the most important ones, and there's room for improvement there and opportunities. Horizons, this is the stuff we do today and we have in the production. But horizons, this is difficult for I think any company, but things that will be in the production in 3 to 5 years time. But you need to do them now. You need to start doing them now. How to get focus, attention, people, money into these subjects. Then moving to the case, sustainability. Our strategy talks about megatrends. Container industry, shipping industry, it is growing. More and more containers are moved, and we need to do it more efficiently, more in a more sustainable way. People are moving to the cities. Urbanization is taking place. They all want their TVs and washing machines. Still, there are billions of people in that phase, and how to make it more efficient. We are proud to have a comprehensive eco-efficient offering. So, for example, Kalmar has a promise that they will deliver electrified equipment by 2021. All equipment you need for handling containers will be fully electric. So, to the case itself, increasing cargo flows, then commitment to decrease emissions. Our customers are working next to the shore, in the middle of the cities, huge pressure to cut down the emissions. Fuel being the major cost item for the operational use, we came up with the fuel guarantee. So, we collect a lot of data from this equipment and other systems, and our fleet, thousands of machines, they operate in many circumstances. Weather, some have light work, some have heavy duty work, so there are a lot of different variations there. We know what our customers have done with that equipment. So, we can predict energy consumption and emissions very precisely. So precisely that we are giving a guarantee. That we ask customer a couple of simple questions which they can answer. The answers to the questions are metrics they are used to use in their daily business. They know them. We ask the questions, and then we come up with liters or kilowatt hours per container, per move. And then we are so sure about the result that we make a promise. And the promise is that you buy this equipment from us, you tell how you are going to use it, and we tell what is the consumption and what are the emissions. And then we give a fuel guarantee, and if it consumes more, we will compensate money back. So, from the customer's testimony, they are saying that this factors out the fuel costs from the equation, and it's the best thing you can hear. We have a calculator, UI, with mobile app for the salespeople. They are discussing with customers that, okay, what's your scenario? And then they are able to provide this kind of guarantee so they can download a certificate. This is what it would be in your case with this machine. And that's based on the machine learning. And it's based on the ensemble random forest. It's not deep learning. It's not even neural networks. We don't need that. We would be gaining minor friction of improvement there maybe, but then add complications there, tuning the parameters and all kinds of stuff you don't want to have if you really don't need to have. And this is robust thing, it works and it can be used. Okay, that was my stuff.
Cool. Questions?
Anybody? Yeah,
Can I meet you after?
of course, you can. Anybody can. You can if you just want to exchange information or discuss how to use technology. We are open to all kinds of collaboration. So it's fruitful for both parties in all of the cases. So just shoot an email and come to say hello. Yeah.
I would guess that the fuel consumption of your customers depends also on operator skills.
Yes.
How do you handle about that?
The model eats them as well. So when you have this many equipment, so the fleet includes thousands of operators with variety of skills. It evens out the good ones and the bad ones, and the reckless drivers and the careful drivers. So that's the magic. And we squeezed the data and we were able to come up with a couple of meaningful input parameters. And the skill set of the driver was not on the top 20 list.
Can you pinpoint one if there is one?
Well, we can, and that's the different use case. So
No, it wasn't that nice to have a cute one.
but we just had a case that customer was driving obviously recklessly and equipment tip over and we got a question that can you see it from the data? Could you create a KPI of being reckless driver? And but this is what the telemetry is really for and nice use cases. Yeah.
So out of all these IoT, machine learning and AI, what would you describe is the hardest for your type of organization? Because is it hard to get basically bring along new ideas or is it really implementing? Because I mean, sensors have been there for years, everybody talks about them, but it seems that at the end of the day, scaling and putting it through your global organizations.
Yeah, that's the toughest part. So it's the technology is not the challenge. It's about having all these people in all these parts of organization understanding what you are about to say to them, what there is for them, and how to go there to the customer together, aligning everybody, and then agreeing with the middle level bosses and that this is the right thing to do. And because these things, you need to practice. You need to annotate the data and you need to get feedback about your predictions, whether they are good or bad. And it's very hard to do without any intervention with the customer and with the person that really knows the stuff. And it's about starting from this model and then improving it. And I think this is the hardest part, not the tech stuff. IoT is easy, that we know.
How much do you have to battle with like company policies and legislation issues? Somebody, for example, doesn't want to give you the data.
Yeah, that's of course they are free to say no, and we can't force customers to hand out the data. Of course, we have, for example, warranty periods that we are the ones that are responsible for the equipment and it performs as well it can. Then we can say that, okay, in order to do that, we need to be able to update the data and have the data to verify that your machine is working okay. But after the warranty period, we need to have the thing for the customer that they like, and then they give the data if they get something valuable back. That's quite simple. Yep.
You have started with fuel guarantee. How about productivity guarantee?
Yeah, that's a good thing, and we definitely are working on that as well. But then there are more constraints, and we can manage this space and this scope pretty well. But then when it comes to the productivity, we have not too many places where we own the whole chain and all the constraints and all the factors there. So, for example, we are limited by the number of moves the ship-to-shore crane performs, and that is kind of a constraint we need to live with. And we are able to provide a guarantee for that part of sub-process where our equipment is performing. And that's what we are working with. And we just had a blog by Antti Kaunonen, Kalmar president, saying that we are ready to go for the performance-based model. And asking from our customers that, are you? And we definitely want to go there and make a good promise that don't buy equipment, buy moves. We can provide moves for you.
All right, that's cool. Let's stand here and have more questions afterwards. So thank you so much. Wow, this has been quite an evening. Before I let you go, I have two things for you. One, when we are having these sort of meetups, it's always fun to also do a little bit networking. And since we are really shy and Finnish and we don't really talk to each other during the breaks, there's an app for that. It's called LinkedIn mobile app. So everyone who has your phone and downloaded the LinkedIn mobile app, you go there right now. And from the app first, page, there's the icon of people, two persons next to each other. So you all tap that, and in the top of the screen it says "Find nearby." Find nearby. It should be off right now, but when you tap that, it goes on. You might need to put your Bluetooth on for that to work. All right. Ask the friend, be non-Finnish, and ask the friend if you have trouble finding the correct place. So in the nearby, you start seeing people who are actually in the vicinity, in this room. So if you find somebody interesting, or just if you feel like networking, connecting with people who are also interested in AI, just click connect.
I didn't know that.
Well, you learn something new every day when you come to Tampere. So go and do that for a second while I'm setting up the second task and the final task for the evening. When you have, you can leave that on and you can continue. Then I have another request for you. So we are big on customer experience. We want to make our, these meetups, we want to make them better. We want to serve you better and have more fun. So let's do another interactive, exercise while you're having your phones out. Everyone go into this address, menti.com, and use the code 692611. Menti.com 692611. I don't know if you haven't used this one before, this will be a treat. I'll change the page. It shows still the code. And now it should ask you something. It should ask you to fill in one or a few words. How did you feel about tonight? How was it? How was the experience for you? I'm waiting. Okay. Yeah, we're getting there. Only 9 answers so far. More! Come on, let's go, people. This is, by the way, Mentimeter. It's completely free to a certain point. So if you haven't used this sort of interactive tools to gather feedback, instant feedback, it's one big, tip for you as well. There's only one way of representing the data. This is not employing AI or machine learning, to my knowledge, at this point. Thank you, everyone. That's that. We are still here, so if you want to stay and have a conversation, so we will be here. We are in no hurry. Thanks for joining, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for